In this lesson, we're going to write linear equations in slope-intercept form from 2 points. So let's go back and review the steps in writing equations. Step 1, we're always going to find the slope. Step 2, we're always going to find the y-intercept. And step 3, we're going to write the equation of the line in the y is equal to mx plus b form. All right, so let's go back and let's review how to find a slope between 2 points. Remember, to find the slope between 2 points, we're looking at that slope formula, which is the y of 2 minus y of 1 all over x of 2 minus x of 1. All right, so when we're finding the slope, then I'm going to label my points, my x1, my y1, my x2, and my y2. And then again, we're using the slope formula right here, where I'm going to take my y of 2, which is 7, minus my y of 1, which is 2, and then I'm going to take my 1 minus 0. All right, so 7 minus 2 is 5, all over 1 minus 0 is 1, and so that gives me a slope which is equal to 5. Now let's talk a little bit about that y-intercept. Remember on the line that we had said the y-intercept is where the line crosses on the y-axis. All right, so I'm going to just draw up over here. And let's plot this point 0, 2, and then 1, 7. So I'd have 0, 2, and then I have over 1, up 7. So it looks something like this. This is what that line would look like. Now right here, then remember that's the y-intercept. And remember that point right there is 0, 2. So to identify that y-intercept, remember the y-intercept is always when x is 0. So in this case right here, notice when our x is 0, I know that our y-intercept is going to be 2. So then we'll just write our b, then we know our y-intercept is going to be 2 because that is where it's crossing on the y-axis. And I know that because my x is 0. All right, so let's do it again. I'm going to have my x1, my y1, my x2, and my y2. And y of 2, again, I'm just applying this formula, m is going to be equal to 8 minus, now look here, I've got a negative 2, so I've got to be careful, all over 5 minus 0. All right, so these became a plus, so I had 10 all over 5 and giving me a slope then that's equal to 2. And then our y-intercept, remember, if I were to plot these points on that line, I would have the 0, negative 2 down here, and then I'd have my 5, 8 somewhere up in here, and this line would come through like this. And so my y-intercept is at negative 2 because when my x is 0, my y-intercept is b is going to be equal to negative 2. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look from a table. Remember, the slope is going to be the y of 2 minus, or the change in the y all of the change in the x. Something that I think, because we get really good at using the slope formula, instead of finding the change in the y all over the change in the x, something that might be helpful is to let's just take 2 points out. And it doesn't matter which 2, but I'm going to take the one with the 0 because I think that's going to be helpful. And then I have 3 and I have 8. All right, so I have x1, y1, x2, and the y2. All right, so I'm going to take 8 minus 2 all over 3 minus 0. All right, so 8 minus 2, let's label that, is 6 all over 3, which is going to give us a slope of 2. And then our y-intercept, if we come back up here and take a look at that, our y-intercept is right here with this where you have the 0, 2. That's going to be our y-intercept. So our y-intercept then here is 2. All right, one last one, our slope. And again, let's just take out 2 points. Let's take out the 0 and the 0 and the 3 and the 1. And x1, y1, x2, y2. All right, so we have 1 minus 0, all over 3 minus 0, and that's going to give us a slope of 1/3. And then our y-intercept then is going to be then, take a look here, 0, 0. And so our y-intercept is 0. All right, so notice that in example 2, we're going to be writing the equation given 2 points. And notice how they're the same problems as the ones above. I do want to point out that remember the steps in writing the equation. We're always going to find the slope. That's our first thing. The second step, we're always going to find the y-intercept, and then we're going to write that equation in the y is equal to mx plus b. And since we've already found the slope and the y-intercept for all of these, and now let's go ahead and plug it back in to the y is equal to mx plus b. And so I have a slope of 5, and I have a y-intercept of 2. All right, so y is equal to 5x plus 2. All right, again, I found the slope, and then I found the y-intercept. And now let's go ahead and write it into that y is equal to mx plus b. Y is equal to, our slope is 2, our y-intercept is negative 2. So because this y-intercept is negative 2, I'm going to put a minus 2 there. And I'll do the same thing for these. And for this last one here, our slope is equal to 1/3, and our y-intercept is 0. So I'm just going to write this as y is equal to 1/3 x. All right, so in example 3, let's go ahead and talk about writing an equation from a real-world situation. In order to use an excerpt from a movie in a new television show, the producer must first pay the director of the movie $790, then pay $130 per minute. And remember, when we're always looking for that slope, look for the word per or each. So let's identify that slope. Our slope was 130. Our y-intercept, well, you're going to pay that one time. So you're going to pay the $790. And then from there, you're going to then, for every hour, you'd be paying $130. So now let's go ahead and let's plug in what we know from our slope and y-intercept. We have y is equal to then, our slope is 130, and then I have $790 for our y-intercept where that is, where that's staying.